have your attention, please? The show starts in 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
What's up, guys? What's up? Welcome back to Deck Talk Podcast. We got a great episode for you today. I am Colin Burnett.
And I am Norman Lee. You know, Colin, I've been excited about this episode here for the past week when anyway, we got a guest locked in for tonight that he's actually been a buddy of mine for a while. He's a bruiser bait teammate of mine, and he is the man behind the greatest big bass bait ever made. Duh, Big Nasty, the Big Nasty himself, Mike. Bottom line, Mike. What's going on, my man? How you doing, brother?
Man, great to have you, Mike.
Man,
Heck yeah.
we have this is gonna be fun, dude. But anyway, let's get the ball rolling. First off, talking about that bait, Mike. Duh, Big Nasty. Let's talk a little bit about it. Uh, where was the thought process first of all before the Big Nasty became the Big Nasty? How did that bait get started, and what was the thought process in coming up with a bait like that you kind of had an idea down the road from all your years of experience fishing in the Everglades that it was going to become big one day? Yeah. 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 Yeah, that's awesome. Now, and mentioning about the big bass killing machine that it is, um, when you first designed the Big Nasty, it was basically designed to mimic an eel, uh, because you got a lot of eels down in the Everglades, and bass love to eat eels, and people don't realize the eels actually do live down there, and bass do love to eat eels, and it was kind of taken as imitation of like an eel swimming across the pond, correct? Did we lose
Do
Mike?
we, do we lose them?
Lost Mike. Mike left the house.
Well, guys,
Or
Oh, we got him
yeah,
there,
back.
there's in South
there
Florida.
it is.
Yeah, we're back. But in South Florida, there are eels, and we have legless salamanders and stuff. I've only seen a few eels in my lifetime. One time I was sitting by a canal bank and I saw an eel swimming across. It wasn't big, maybe 12.
We
13
lost Mike again.
inches long, and I saw spaghetti noodle. Like, yes,
Hey, Norman.
Yeah.
that's the mimics when you.
Hey, Mike, hang on one second. We're having a little connection issue. Hang on one second. Any ideas, Colin?
I'm trying to see.
Bear with us, guys. We're having a little bit of connection issue with Mike here. We'll try to get this figured out here in a second. Mike, do you hear me all right?
It's showing he doesn't have signal right now, Norman.
Lost service.
Yeah. So, guys, until we're working with this, trying to get Mike back on.
Uh,
Uh, Zach, he still doesn't have service. It's kind
there
of,
it is. You hear me all right now, Mike?
Okay, well, I'm blowing the
All right.
computer up.
Yep.
yeah.
See if I go.
All
Yeah.
right. So,
All right. We got Mike back. Mike's back in the house.
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Can you hear me all right, Mike? We can't hear Mike though.
Electricity.
it's only showing just
Yeah,
a
but we
little
got
bit.
freshwater.
There we go.
Can you hear me now?
Press it. Because it's normally.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Yep. Yeah.
I can hear everybody. I can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, we're good.
All right, cool. But yeah, the big nasty. But there's so many different uses for this worm. A lot of guys fishing Holiday Park last week caught them swimming them through the pads, and a lot of guys caught them down deep on the ledges on big shaky heads. Half-ounce shaky heads, and of course, they work very well Carolina rigged.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, we even use them up here on the Carolina rigs a lot.
Oh yeah. Now you're talking about Carolina rig. A few years ago when Bruiser Bait was at ICAST, I done a little bit of a live talking about the big nasty there at the Bruiser Bait ICAST booth, and Steve had mentioned when he introduced me on the live, he made a statement that the big nasties were never originally thought to be fished that way when they were originally designed. And a little bit of a backstory about when I first seen Bruiser's starting to come out with the big nasty, I was like, my eyes lit up, guys, because I've been fishing big baits with the Carolina rig for years on Placid, on Lake June, Lake Placid, around where I grew up. And when I seen that big nasty being introduced, I was like, oh, my eyes lit up like a kid on Christmas. And me guiding out there, it actually took my guide service to another level. Just do nothing to the fact of the big nasty. I mean, we caught so many big fish out there. We actually have caught on 10 different occasions our five biggest being over 40 pounds, and everything caught on the big nasty. I mean, just crazy, crazy numbers. But one of the things, Mike, that I love about the big nasty is that it doesn't eliminate your numbers. A lot of big baits, it gives you better big bite, but it eliminates your numbers where you're going to have more big bite, but it takes away a lot of the smaller fish. But that's one thing. Me being a guide, I don't want to eliminate numbers. I want every fish to eat. Even big fish, small fish, whatever we throw the bait in front of. But that's the one thing I love about the big nasty is it doesn't eliminate your smaller fish. It enhances your bigger bite, but it'll catch everything: small, medium, giant fish. And that's one of the things I love about the bait. It also is that it doesn't eliminate your bites. It gives you more bites, but it really enhances your big bite.
Yeah,
Right.
that's what I've noticed. Even throwing when we went last year, Norman, down there after I cast, which we caught a bunch of fish. And but even fishing up here in Chattanooga and fishing on Chickamauga and Naked Jack and stuff like that, um, it is, and what like if you the bigger the bait, you're going to tend to
Oh
weigh
yeah,
down like the 2 pounders or something. You're going to get that bigger bite,
yeah.
but still, what was it last summer, Norman? We were out on Chickamauga and like we had a bass that literally the worm was longer
Yes.
than the bait, or I mean, than the bass. I mean, just destroy it. So I
Yeah.
mean, you're right. It does not. Your big bite is
Yeah.
increased by it,
Yeah,
but the
your
little
big
ones
bites,
still
your
want
big
to eat.
bites way increased by it, but it doesn't eliminate your numbers. Which
Yeah,
a lot of your bigger baits eliminates the numbers, but the big nasty, you're still going to get the quantity of fish. And me being a guide, that's what we look for. Is we want to catch everything the bait goes in front of, whether they're small or. It's all about getting the bites, and it's all about catching fish, whether they're big or small. But the big nasty is not going to eliminate them bites. It's going to it's going to way enhance them big bites, but you're going to catch everything with it: big, small, medium, giants. And that's one of the cool things
yeah.
I love about the bait.
Now,
Yeah,
how did
one thing that I love about it is when you're driving up the canal down here and you're passing one of the many spillways, if you get lucky and that spillway's running and you're on the outgoing side and you just anchor down and you throw this worm up in the current, you really don't have to do anything. The tail does all the work for you. You're just sitting there just
Oh
slowly
yeah,
bringing it in the current with it. And man, I'm telling you, these big bass love it down here. And this is my favorite time of the year. This is when the water temperatures gets really hot, and they really start the post spawners really start to feed heavy on bigger stuff.
yeah,
And in a couple more weeks, we'll start getting rain every day, which means they're going to start turning on some spillways as the Everglades and other locations start to fill back up. And it's not a wonder why most of the bait and tackles down here like BJ's and even Tackle Warehouse and stuff like that are selling these things like
oh
hotcakes
yeah,
because
no kidding.
it's that time of year.
Yeah.
It's that time of year.
And the original Big Nasty, known as the V1, a couple years ago, you came out with the V2, which the V2 has a little bit different tail design, and I've used the V2, and the one thing I notice about it is because of the way that tail's designed, You get twice the amount of water displacement and tail action because of the way that thing's designed. It almost has like a rib-like feature on each side of the plastic going down the tail and back up the other side, which helps displace more water and give better vibration, better tail action as well with the V2.
Yeah. Mike, can you show that again? I'm going to have your uh, up to where people can see what, uh, and that is the Big Nasty. How long is that?
That's 14.25 inches long with the tail extended.
Yeah.
But you
That
can
is
see
crazy.
that tail. That tail's the magic. The
Yeah.
tail's the mag. Look, it's
Yeah,
moving. I'm not even moving the worm, and
Yeah.
it wants to
right.
dance. You
Yeah.
know.
And the
Now,
V2, the
how?
V2 they have the V2 and the 14, and they also have a 10-inch now with the V2.
Yeah, Tackle
Yeah,
Warehouse and BJ's Bait and Tackle, which I always promote going to the bait and tackles first. If they don't carry Bruiser baits, then by all means go online. But yes, the V2 they come in for the non-believers in the 14-inch worms. We came out with a 10-inch worm, and the tail moves just as effectively, and it's a wider tail than the V2. I mean the V1. It's a little bit wider and it has a ridge on it, so you're never going to see a worm tail that looks like that. But when you throw it and you see it swim through the water, you'll say, "Wow, this worm really looks great," and it's going to catch your fish.
When you're
oh,
swimming
it
it,
does.
when you're swimming that V2 through the water, it almost feels like you're pulling a vibrating jig because there's so much chatter and so much vibration that tail puts out because
Now,
of the ridges on it.
right now, how besides which I've never swam it, but all I've done is just on a Carolina rig. But can you talk to us about Mike about how the other ways that you can rig the Big Nasty up?
Boy, you're asking for all my secrets now, but
Well,
no,
I mean, you
the
don't
big
have to
the,
give them
no the
away.
big nasty is one of the most versatile baits you can have down here in the Everglades, especially. I noticed guys catching giants up in Georgia on it. Out in Texas, that lake over in Mexico, some guys caught some big stuff on it.
Oh,
I mean, it's caught big fish, and so far I've kept track of 17 different states. Even on Kentucky Lake, they were jacking big ones with the Big Nasty up into one of the FLW tours. The problem is it's so good nobody wants to talk about it. I mean, if I'm winning tournaments on it, I'm not going to tell you, And they
yeah.
and Steve
Right.
Dow makes custom colors, so these custom colors are flying everywhere. But one thing is when I swim it just by itself, I just use a standard 5-aught Gamagotchi, super line braid hook with, you can either go 20-pound fluoro or some braid, and you're just swimming it through the pads just like you would a snake. Because in the springtime down here, not only do the eels spawn and the legless salamanders, but the snakes spawn as well. They spawn too. So there's baby snakes being eaten up everywhere. So swimming it through the pads, and then you can put a small. And listen, I use everybody's baits. If anybody that tells me they use one specific brand to win tournaments is not telling the truth. Okay, so I'm
Yeah.
going to say, I'm going to give up some secrets here, but when I'm fishing current and stuff, I'll use the smallest gambler lures rattling weight up front, and I'll even put 2 millimeter glass beads into this sack by the tail, spray it with some bang, and I use a Bass Pro Shop XPS 4-odd laser sharp hook, or I'll use the Mustad big bite plastic hook 4-odd. And you got to remember, when a bass eats this thing, 90% of the time he's going to eat head first, because they know if they think it's an eel or a snake, they don't want to get bit, so they're going to bite head first. So I'll use a small weight. That's what I use in the current. And listen, I just throw it out there and I wait 30 minutes. I'll take a sip of Mountain Dew or something and talk to my partner, and just start letting the current carry it back. You can put it on big shaky heads and stuff when you're fishing up rock piles or up ledges and stuff. The shell beds up at Placid, the Carolina rig with a half-ounce weight, flat out tungsten or something. I don't use the fancy bell weights or any of the little beads or anything. I just put on a half-ounce flat out tungsten or a 3/4 ounce with a swivel, and make up a Carolina rig that way. But this worm is extremely versatile. I'm actually excited. I came out with the Bruiser Bullet speed worm as well. It's about that long. Imagine this worm with a speed tail worm. My fishing partner was throwing a speed worm out in the Everglades, and the tail kept ripping off it and everything, and it falling to pieces. You know, a lot of companies are using less hardener because things are getting expensive out there. You
Yeah.
know, so they're trying to cut cost, and you know, a lot of people were complaining. And one thing I'll say about Bruiser baits is they use some really stout plastic. I mean, you could sling a Bruiser Bullet speedworm out there, and it's a bigger profile bait. So I'm excited to try to Carolina rig that up there at Placid as well, Norman.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh,
You
that'd
know,
be good.
one of the most frequently questions that's asked to me is what, when I'm throwing those big baits is what size hook do I use? And people almost looks at me kind of funny when I tell them, well, like when I'm Carolina rigging it, I only use a 5 EWG. And the question I get is, really? Because most people thinks you're going to use a 7 8 huge hook. You don't need to. And going back to what you just said, Mike, is people has to realize 99% of the time when a bass, whether it's a 2 pound bass or a 10 pound bass, eats a bait, they're always going to hit it head first. So the first thing that's going in their mouth is the hook. And even like a pound and a half, 2 pound bass on a 14-inch worm, when they eat that bait, they hit it head first. All they're going to do is one, and the whole bait's in their mouth. And people don't realize that. And I don't like using big hooks, even on big baits, because it cuts a little bit of that action away from the bait because of the heavier hook. So yeah, I'm right with you there. You don't really need big hooks on those long worms.
I'll show you something just to give you an example of what you're talking about. Bruiser, there's a couple companies that make them, but Bruiser makes a snake now 16 inches long.
Hmm.
This is called an all-terrain. If I'm just going to keep going up, because it's just going to keep going up, the all-terrain 16-inch snake down here in the Everglades. You know, especially right now with the water temperatures really heating up, those big females don't want to chase around a bunch of little stuff. And you know, with the snake spawning out there in the eels, this 16-inch snake right here, I could go out there right now and I've just put a 5 EGW on there. Your choice, either 50-pound braid or 25-pound fluorocarbon,
Yep.
and go out there and sling this thing and catch some good sized
Yep.
bass on this anywhere out in the Everglades, not just Holiday Park, but
Oh yeah.
Sawgrass
Yeah.
and Loxahatchee, stuff like that.
Yeah. That's insane, man. Insane. Tell you what, man. When you came up with that worm, and it's like I say, from day one, I knew that that was going to be the bomb for big bass. I mean, it's insane what it's done, not only in Florida, but now we're starting to hear, throughout the United States that it's getting more popular. Shoot, there's been people talking about it in Texas. Pretty much all over the United States now, people's actually using the big nasty and catching giants with it.
Yeah, and that it's okay. Yeah, even on Okeechobee, I mean, Mike Vitito caught in a Rollins tournament, um, caught a bass over 10 pounds on a black blue big nasty. He became the big nasty king of Okeechobee. I mean, this guy jacked him on the big nasty, just putting a small weight with fluoro and swimming it around in certain stuff that he likes. And man, I'll tell you, that guy made that worm famous on Okeechobee, and yeah, he caught some absolute. I mean, I can't tell you how many 25-plus-pound bags he caught on that worm, which
Yeah.
surprised me because I'm an Everglades guy. You know, I fish deep. I fish deep ledges. For me to start getting reports when he first started catching them and showing that he was catching them on the worm on Okeechobee, I was really ecstatic. When I saw that, that's when I knew I had that Steve and I created something special. And I'm going to be honest with you, Norman. I'm a 100% honest guy. You know, this was all inspired by some of the greatest anglers down here, guys like John Pate, Jim Coleman, Doug Harris. This worm was, they're the ones that got me involved with this stuff and trying to create something special. Steve Dial made it a completely round production mold worm with the ridges going down. He added all that into it, so it took, it was a lot of teamwork and stuff, and we just hit the right combination,
Yeah.
and a lot of people are having fun with it. Now, with that being said, it's like any other bait. There's no super bait. This bait's going to catch you big fish. It's going to win you tournaments. It's going to get that big fish for your, when you need that kicker and stuff. But it's another tool in the toolbox.
Yeah.
I enjoy multiple styles of fishing, and definitely throwing the big nasty is one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, no doubt, no doubt at all. I know it quickly became one of my favorites as well to throw. Anytime I hit the water, especially in Florida, and even up here now when I hit Chickamauga, especially during the summertime, fishing the ledges, fishing the shell beds up here, and there's a lot of similarities on Chickamauga from what I grew up on and used to back in South Florida, where we fish shell beds, and it's always going to be, I'm always going to have it tied on, whether I'm in South Florida or now up here in Tennessee as well. It's one of my go-tos, and it always will be.
And I
Yeah.
appreciate that.
Yeah, Norman, we're definitely gonna have to take some of Mike's advice and start swimming that stuff through all this grass and lily pads and stuff we got.
Yeah, and that's another thing too. When we get down there in July and hit the Everglades, we didn't throw but we're gonna have to actually have
No, we just threw the top
down
water
there.
all day.
We're throwing top water all day, and
Top water? What are you talking about?
yeah,
What are you talking about? Top water?
yeah, there you go,
Huh?
right there.
You
There
don't
you
throw
go.
none of that.
Oh, now look at
That's
that.
my
That's pretty, isn't it?
that's
That
my
is.
bait right there. But yeah, we're gonna have to do some swimming that big nasty when we get back down there and see if we can duplicate what Mike's talking about in the Everglades. Kind of duplicate some of the meals down there.
Yeah. So hey, Norman, while we're talking about going down to the Everglades, Mike, is there another freshwater fish that will nail a top water as hard as what a peacock bass does?
Oh, that's a tough one. Um, we all love catching peacock bass down here. I mean, this bait right here, I could go in my backyard right now, right out back, and catch all the peacock I want. And yes, they do hit it extremely hard. They're violent explosions. My son Andrew guides up on the Lake Ida Osborne chain, Andrew Ernst, and he just absolutely destroys them up there. It's a fun fish to catch. It's a double-edged sword because they were released into our system, to control some of the invasive species of fish, the Oscars and the cichlids and stuff, and they started to multiply crazy down here, and there was a cold front that hit this year that really knocked the snot out of them. And I felt bad. I felt bad that FWC would release a fish into our system, knowing that when the water temperature drops below 65, there's a good chance they're not going to make it. But on
Right.
the other side of that, it made the pod of peacocks out in the glade smaller, which allowed the black bass to start to build their way back up. So it was a double-edged sword. But yeah, there's plenty of them down here. We'll have no problem at all get one of your top waters,
Yeah.
knocked the hell out by one of these
I,
peacocks down
Oh
here.
yeah.
Norman and I, that's what we talked about. And he told me, he said, man, when they hit that top water, it is something else. And then we're Norman, where do we put in down there?
I don't know wherever that girl on my dashboard called the GPS told me to go. Well, I've been down there a couple times, and I will say real quick too uh, that you know Mike and also another buddy of mine, Steve Purcell, which is a guide down in the Everglades. The last two times when I went down there. Um, I called you and my other buddy Purcell, and they hooked me up. Basically, told me where I needed to go. Cause, like I say, I've only been there a couple times,
Boy,
and
that name kills me, Norman. That name, Steve Purcell's. That name kills me.
yeah,
He's the lion of the Everglades. I
yeah,
mean, after John Pate and J.P. McKay dominated for years out there, they kind of passed the torch off to Purcell's and Rod Saylor. And man, I can't tell you how many times I was so frustrated weighing in a 27-pound bag. He would weigh in 28. I weigh in 30. He weighs in 31. I mean, that guy won more tournaments out in the swamp than, I mean, but he paid his dues. He was out there every day of the week. And, man, what a hell of a fisherman. Thank God he has two young kids now and he can't pre-fish as much. But man, that was he was on an absolute tear. One of the go-to baits back in the day when the bite was really on and he was crushing is a jig, and you just put big trailers on the jigs, and man, you swim these out of the pads like a horny toad over, just under the
yeah,
surface,
yeah,
and the trailers for them, you can, the multiple anything big crawdads like the crazy crawl from Bruiser or whatever, but any big crawdad, man, you swim this out of the pads. It was a 7-8 pounder, and he was the king. Steve
yeah.
Purcell's was the king of the jig. See, when Bottom was out there throwing 16-inch snakes, and for example, one tournament, I had 4 fish over 6 pounds, and I knew I needed one more. My small fish was like 4 pounds. I
Yeah.
had like 20 minutes left to go in the tournament, and I was fishing up in the finger canals, and I set up on this one fish on the snake, get her all the way to the boat, and right at the boat, she straightens out the hook. And wouldn't you know it, I get back in and I lose by that much to Steve Purcell's again. And boy, I wanted to kick myself in the eye. And the thing of it is he's pitching a jig, swimming a jig. So when those fish eat that jig, you're not losing them. You
Yeah.
got 60, 70 pound braid on a jig, you ain't losing a fish.
No,
Where
but
the rest of us, we're throwing spooks and
yeah,
and stuff, and we're straightening out hooks, and fish
yeah,
are flying off our spook, and
yeah.
he's just going up to Canal Jack and Giants. Definitely one of the
Oh
top
yeah.
3 anglers in the Glades of all time.
When I went down there, of course, it was new to me the first time. I never been down there. I lived in Florida all my life and never went and fished the Everglades. So, you know, uh, John Pate, as a matter of fact, he was actually the first time I went down was supposed to go out with me, and he got a medical condition like the day before we were going and couldn't make it. So yourself and Steve really hooked me up big time to go there because I never been there. It was like hitting, and there's so many ins and outs down there. So if it wasn't for you guys, I'd been completely lost. And then again last year when we went again with Colin, Steve, yourself, and John, I called you guys, and man, you guys pretty much told me what I needed to do, what I needed to be thrown, where we needed to go, and so you guys hooked us up big time. And but we're looking forward to doing that trip again. That's a blast, man. And like Colin said, when they slam that top water, I don't think we
It
need.
sounds like somebody's taking a cinder block, chunking it out into the water, just
Yeah,
a whoosh. And
yeah,
I'm like, because I wasn't paying. Norman got one hit first, and Norman's like, we're both at the bow of the boat, and he's taking the left side, I'm taking the right side, and so I'm watching my bait, and next thing I know, I hear whoosh, and I'm like, what? I was like, what did you throw? And he was like, oh, that was a peacock hit. And I was like, no way. And then he caught one probably about 5 minutes later, and again, just whoo. And I'm
yeah.
like, that I could see where somebody can get addicted real quick to going out there throwing top water.
There's
Well,
nothing like
I'll tell you
a
what. There's not a tournament angler down here that doesn't know when Bottom Line Mike puts on his Tilly hat, he's ready for business. I only put this on. I only put this on when I'm ready for business, and that's throwing a spook all day. And I'll tell you, one thing I'll tell the local fishermen that are watching and stuff: when you got 60 miles of canal and everything looks the same, it's not the same. You got to look underneath the water, and you got to look at the edges. Um, I catch a lot of my fish on straight drops
yeah,
instead of the angle drops. And There's certain stretches with rock, more bigger rocks than other stretches. There's so much underneath the water that's happening that you really got to be aware of. When the water starts flowing out of the flats, and are the fish staged up in the washouts? Are they staged up in between the washouts? Are they hitting up on the alley? Are they hitting down south? There's just so much. Are they hitting by the bridges? Do they have the pumps running? You literally got to take these areas out in the Everglades, and you literally got to break them down into sections. And I'll tell you what, if you find out what pattern the bigger fish are biting on first, you got about 2 or 3 tournaments you're going to do great in before the rest of the world catches up to you.
Oh
And
yeah.
there's no secrets out there no more.
Yeah.
Back in the day, I'd throw a big nasty on a rock. I'm talking one big rock in the middle of the canal that 500 people would drive right over, not even know it's there. With all the electronics and
Yeah.
all the other stuff that happens out there, there's no secrets. So
No.
your secret now is just to find out where the bigger fish are hitting, what type of bait they're hitting, and you just try to pray nobody else finds that stretch before you
Yeah.
get there on tournament day. That's
Exactly.
pretty much what
Yeah,
it
and
is.
I had a dude that I fished tournaments with, and he thought that he was God's gift to Chickamauga. But and he would always say, "I've got this great spot. It's a secret spot. Nobody knows." And I kept on telling him, I said, "There's not a place on Chickamauga that is just one person's spot." I was like, "Too much electronics, too many people fishing Chickamauga for there to be just one person have one single spot that's got big fish on it."
Yeah. Yeah. No doubt. And I will say something too. Of course, my top water bait of choice is always going to be the spook, and very seldom I'm going to actually hit the lake. And Colin will tell you this, that I won't have a Zara spook laying either somewhere in the rod box or on the deck of my boat. Of course, we can't show anything right yet, and I'm sure you won't mind mentioning it, but keep posted, guys. And I hope I'm allowed to say it because it's not released yet. It'll probably be a little bit before it gets released, and Mike probably knows what I'm gonna be getting at. But Bruiser Bait has a spook coming out soon. I have seen the mold, and Mike, I can't wait, man. I cannot wait to get my hands on that bait because I
I
love
actually
throwing a spook.
I actually have a prototype that's on one of my rods right now. I've been throwing out back for a month and a half now. I've been kind of like fine tuning it with the hook setups and
Yep.
stuff. Well, for Steve, and because that plays a huge part.
Oh yeah.
I don't buy a spook at the store and throw that spook. I change the whole thing up.
Yeah.
But so I kind of been working for him. I'm excited about it. It's as far as a Zara Super Spook and that spook, they're almost the same size. But what Steve needs is he needed a bait that's the right size, meaning it's a big profile bait, but not giant profile to where everybody will catch fish on it from here to Kentucky Lake up north. It's a very versatile bait, and it actually works better in windy conditions compared to the spook. The spook's not, if you got rollers on Okeechobee or high winds and big chop, the spook's not the way to go.
Yeah.
The bruiser topwater will get it
Yeah.
done for you.
Yeah.
Now
Exactly.
I haven't said this Norman's seen in my boat. I've got a huge rat. You think if I bring that huge rat down there, it's going to get munched on?
I'll tell you this: I don't fish many of them, but I fished a couple night tournaments down here, and let's just say Uncle Luke Campbell, the best night fisherman of all time down here, could get that rat annihilated on a night trip. I mean, the bigger fish down here eat at night in the summertime.
Yeah.
There's
Now,
no doubt about it.
this rat he's talking about it. If it lands within 5 foot of any fish, it's knocking him out.
There's some bass out in the swamp that hit at night that I think would surprise you and knock that rat out.
We might have to take
Yeah,
a night trip down there when we're down there. Then just
I
try that
would.
rat out.
Hey Norman, you sleep
Yeah.
when you're dead is what I've been told. So,
There you go. There you
uh,
go.
but let's let's do this, Norman. We got something special that guys that our sponsor for today is Firefly Marine. If you are looking for the best navigational lights on water, Firefly is the navigational lights that you need.
Yep. Go to www.fireflymarine.com and you got a discount code. Get 10% off. Enter the discount code DECKTALK10. Make sure you enter the discount code where the coupon in on the website when you're ordering DECKTALK10. Get a discount on your Firefly navigational lights. I actually just so happen to have one of the bow lights right here. And I want you to take a look at this thing, guys. It's sharp, but the cool thing about Firefly navigational lights is that they have a plastic design. Now, this plastic for the lenses actually took Firefly over 5 years to come up with the right fragmented plastic that is an absolute non-reflective plastic, non-glare. It's almost calling when you're fishing with the Firefly lights, it's almost fishing like you're fishing under a full moon. Because the worst thing about,
It
especially with the LED lights and all these navigation lights, is the glare they put off. Absolutely no glare, just like if you were fishing under a full moon, guys. So, fireflymarine.com, make sure you put in the discount code DECKTALK10 to get your discount. But go on and get yourself some Firefly lights. Best navigational lights you could ever buy.
Oh, and don't forget about that courtesy. Show them that courtesy light.
Yeah, the courtesy light also has the non-glare plastic. Now, how many times are you at the boat ramp and you have to tie on a last-minute bait in the dark before blast off of the tournament? Now, this courtesy light, again, no glare. You could actually go and tie your bait with this courtesy light. You don't have the glare in your eyes, but it's going to show your bait. It's going to show what you're doing without having to have that glare where you have a hard time tying your knots. And then it has your switch on the top to turn the courtesy light off when you're not using it. So, and again, no glare with the bow light or your stern light. And again, if you're fishing at nighttime, almost like fishing under a full moon. But don't forget the discount code, guys. Get your discount, get your Firefly lights. Deck Talk 10. Put that code in and join the Firefly team, guys. You won't be sorry.
No, you won't. It is the best lights that are out there. And again, like if you have, looks like Mike, there he is. And if and it's not just for bass boats. The uh, the stern light goes up to 9 foot 3 inches. So if you was to have a bimini top or a canopy on your boat, it is taken care of. So
There he is.
Or a T-top.
there it is.
It's the only navigational light on the market that has an extension that goes up to 9 feet, which will clear most any T-top or most any Bimini top as well.
Wow.
Exactly.
That's awesome.
So since we got done with business here, let's Mike, who inspired you, or how did you get inspired to to be able to take up bass fishing?
To be 100% honest with you, when I was younger, I used to spend a lot of time on the piers down here, saltwater fish as a young kid. I would spend the weekend on the pier catching fish over the weekend, and we, my family kind of, my mom kind of moved out. She was a single mother, with me and my brother and sister, and she kind of moved out west. And in order, I seen all my friends going out and they're getting in trouble. They're stealing stuff, they're doing this, they're acting crazy like crazy teenagers. I decided to pick up a fishing rod and just start fishing people's backyards, and I was hooked ever since. I mean, I've been blessed to live down in Florida most of my my life, and I've been catching bass for this bass is pounds 12 ounces. I caught when I was 18 years old out of a sprinkler ditch canal in Miramar. I mean, you don't need a $70,000 boat. You don't need $500 setups. to go out and have fun. And it's very crazy to watch the kids of today. Most of them sit
We lost service
there
again.
behind
There,
the screen playing video games.
guys, we're having signal
Service
issue
internet issues.
with Mike, so he'll be back on here in a second. But again, guys, look here, we got.
Oh, there he is.
Yep, there he
Mike's
is.
back in the house again.
So maybe not, no connection. Uh, but again, guys,
There you go.
we do want y'all
There he
to.
is.
There it is. We want y'all to go to YouTube and look up Deck Talk Podcast. Hit that subscribe button. It helps us out. And if you're on Facebook, make sure you're hitting that like button, just smashing it, because trying to help the algorithm to kind of get us up a little higher and get us put out a little farther. Keep on hitting that like button and comment. We do have a question for you, Mike. And Norman's going to know who asked this question when I ask it.
Oh, I got a good idea already.
What is your go-to fishing snack?
My go-to fishing snack,
Yeah.
honey bun.
There you go. Perfect.
Do I need to tell you where I work? I work for Little Daddy.
There you go. It's number one
But
down here.
I, and if you could help put me on some big fish while I'm down there, I might just bring you a big old case of some honey buns.
You ain't got to worry about that. We'll catch some big fish. But going back to the inspiration side and stuff, I fish to stay out of trouble. I fish because you're out there in the middle of nowhere, just walking around, and your mind is at ease, and it's just you and nature. And that's what
Yeah.
really got me hooked. I started fishing club tournaments, and then I had such a good time in the club tournaments that I wanted to expand on that. There used to be big bass trails down here, and things happen, and there wasn't nothing for a while, and John Pate sat me down and said he wanted me to start a bass trail because everybody loved and trusted me, and that's one thing. Not everybody loves Bottom Line Mike down here. When I had the original Big Nasty, I was nasty. I fished with guys and I wouldn't share with them. I'd let them use them when they were with me, but I wouldn't let them take them, because I didn't want anybody to take my stuff. And, so they got angry with me. Oh, I got a tournament next week. Let me get a couple dozen. I'm like, no, only when you're with me. And there's a lot of drama in fishing, but, you know, just through the inspiration, once I started getting into tournament fishing, I fished as a co-angler in the BFL, not because I had a bass tracker at the time, but the reason that I fished in it was just to meet good people. It's not that I couldn't fish. I cast checks. I actually outfished, out of the 12 anglers I fished with in the BFL, I actually outfished 10 of them and actually taught them how to use the top water and the stuff that I like. And they actually had better performances in the next BFLs, and we're all good friends still. And that's really what it was all about for me, growing up. Tony Masiello, a local hammer, took me under his wing when I was younger. We won so many tournaments. We still have one of the biggest limits at Holiday Park, 37.56 pounds. I mean, you know, he taught me a lot. And the reason that I'm a good angler is because, number one, I fish with a variety of style people. Like I fish with Kevin Thomas and Amon Wilcox, who are probably one of the best ledge fishermen down here. I fish with John Pate. He showed me how to make certain colors and stuff on my homemade baits. I fish with Hank Craig, one of the best flats fishermen down here. Him and Skip Reed. I fish with them both, and it's funny. One of my buddies called me the chameleon yesterday, because if you actually look at my rods, all 12 of them up front, they're actually set up with stuff that I've learned over the years from these great anglers. I mean, In my club tournament, and trust me, I don't really count club tournaments. In my club tournaments, I've got over 200 wins, probably 500 top threes. I got five. I'm right now. I'm in the points lead for the fifth straight year. No matter, I fished with Hank Craig and won my first Glades Masters AOY. Um, I'm fishing with Papo Rojas right now, which the kid is a phenomenal fisherman. I mean, while I'm up there, doing my thing, he's off to the side doing his, and we just make really good calls together. If it's a team format, you got to have that connection with your partner. You got to be able to adjust to the situation and take. You can't say, "Oh no, I'm not going to throw a shaky head. That's for little dinky fish," and all of a sudden he's throwing a shaky head, jacking 6 pounders. Oh, I should have went. If you listen, with your partners and work together, it's hard to find a good partner. And I tell you, Papa Rojas is one of my favorites. He's definitely a hammer, and we've won a lot of tournaments together. We won an Open up on the Caloosahatchee River. We've won on Garcia. I mean, we've won at least a tournament at every location down here. The only Achilles heel I have right now is I've won club tournaments, but I've never won an open tournament on Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
And I've been fishing a long time. I've come close, man. I've weighed in 30-something pound bags, finished fifth. Weigh in 25-pound bags, finished 20th. I came close in the BFL as a co-angler, and unfortunately, my boater was sick and throwing up, and I went to, reach down to grab a fish I know was over 10 pounds on the top water, and she shook and scared the hell out of me, and when I reacted, she shook off, and it cost me the win. And but there's a lot of great anglers down here. Florida spawned a lot of great anglers that not just fish Florida great, but they fish everywhere. Nicholas Hoying, Matt Weeda, Mikey Queso is probably one of the biggest sticks. I'll even throw Donnie Bass, Chris Sherling, a lot of the McMillans. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the talent that comes from down here in Florida.
Oh yeah. Yep. Yep. Some of them guys you just mentioned, they're the biggest sticks in Florida. And anytime you show up at the boat ramp and you're fishing against them guys, you gotta bring your A game, because they're gonna bring their A game. And as a matter of fact, you mentioned Brandon McMillan. He's actually going to be on the podcast here sometime this first season. He's actually fishing the BASS Opens this year in hopes to try to qualify for the elites. So his schedule is pretty crazy, but he will be on the podcast here sometime this first season as well.
And he's been doing pretty decent too on them Opens.
What's that now?
Yeah, Brandon McMillan's an awesome fisherman. So's Dylan McMillan and Jared McMillan. The whole family is just loaded with hammers, and I have the pleasure of not only throwing tournaments for them, but fishing against them. And I'll tell you this right now, Bottom ain't scared to fish against anybody. It's really, if me, Norman and Colin went out in the swamp in separate boats right now, and we put $100 a piece down, and I come back with a bigger bag than you guys, I didn't beat you guys. I beat the fish.
Yeah.
I figured out the fish. When these guys win tournaments, and the reason they win all the time is because they're great at beating the fish. They figure them out. They figure what they want to eat. They figure out where they're at. Yeah. They're great at locating them. They just have a sixth sense, is what I call it, on finding fish. And, some of these guys that don't do very well in tournaments and stuff like that, they have no reason to hang their head low. They're throwing the same exact baits as us. They just there's a big thing with timing and location. And once you dial that in a little bit, you'll be just like the rest of them. But yeah, these guys are just absolute hammers because they just have a knack. Nicholas Hoying and Matt Weeda, I mean, guys could be weighing in 10 pounds on Okeechobee, and these guys come back with 19 to 20 something every single time. Yeah, because they just have a really good knack at figuring these fish out.
Yeah, and and as a tournament angler, I learned this a long time ago too, through the years, that when you hit the water as a tournament angler, you never want to think of yourself as fishing against your competition. You're always fishing against the fish. You could only control what you could control. You can't control what goes on around, just what you could control. And when you get a mindset that you're not fishing against Donnie Bass, you're not fishing against Mikey Kiso, you're not fishing against Jared McMillan, you're fishing against the fish, and you could only control what you could control. And that's the biggest mistake a lot of people makes is they show up at a tournament with a lot of sticks in it. First thing, it starts getting to their head because now they're trying to think about what he's going to catch, how much weight he's going to weigh in. Once you get that out of your head, and you just start worrying about you're trying to fish the fish. Forget about and I used to get disappointed when I used to show up at a tournament and a lot of the biggest names in the state of Florida wasn't there because to me, I wanted to fish against those guys that I knew were a lot better than I was because I knew that was going to bring out the best in me when I was fishing. And that's the only way you're going to learn is to fish against the best. And I wanted to fish against them guys because, it made me put my head down and focus harder, knowing that I was fishing against them guys. But with that being said, you never wanted to get out of the realm of you weren't really fishing against them guys. You're fishing against the fish that's in front of you.
The only time you're fishing against that guy is when you're on a sit down spot and he gets boat number one and outbeats you there. That's the only time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, but Norman and I, we've talked about it, and we had Beth and Lori from Two Chicks in a Boat
Mhm.
on here a couple weeks
Yeah,
ago,
I love that
and
podcast.
we
That was awesome.
right, it was a great episode. But we talked about like fishing is really the only sport out there that male and female can go and compete against each other and it's still an even kill because you go
Yeah.
out there and you play like let's say basketball, the guys or even swimming, track or baseball, football or whatever, guys are built different and it doesn't matter. The bats don't know that you're 6'4", 260 pounds, or if you're 5 foot nothing, weighs 110 pounds soaking wet.
Yeah, exactly. And I tell you what, too, down there in the state of Florida, there's a couple women down there that are true sticks that a lot of the men have a hard time beating, and they're always up at the top of the leaderboard.
Yeah.
Uh, and I'm going to name one right off the bat. We talked about the McMillans earlier, and I think we lost Bottom again. I think he's had a little bit of a connection issue.
Yeah, he lost signal again.
But anyway,
Well,
while we're trying to wait for him to get back, talking about Brandon, Jarrett, all the McMillans, Breezy McMillan, she is one of the big sticks down there in the state of Florida, especially on Lake Okeechobee.
Yeah.
And anytime you show up at a BFL when Breezy's competing in it, she's always going to be up there in the top, and she's one of the ones that's always typically going to kick a lot of the guys' butts when you go down there and fish against her. So there is a lot of females down in the state of Florida that they just bring it, and they are hammers when you show up to fish against them.
So we're sitting at right at an hour right now. So, which we don't. It doesn't matter to me. It doesn't matter to Norman. And but we can keep on going and chit chatting, Mike, if you want to. But we do have a couple more questions uh, for you. Uh, let's Norman. Let's go on and ask him that the last question that you had on there.
Yeah, and
'Cause I want to make sure we hit it and be able
yeah.
to talk.
Well, you know what? We'd be remiss if we didn't talk about this, Mike. And I will say, Of course, I watch all the Facebook. I think this year, I don't know if you've done it in years past, but this year I got a little bit involved with watching you done some of the weigh-ins live on Facebook, which is real cool. And I will tell you too, your daughter is just kicking it when I watched one of the weigh-ins and she was doing the MC and she just done a fabulous, I mean fabulous job on the mic doing that. But King of the Glades Tournament Series, dude, to me, it is the best, most well ran, bigger, I say club slash trail tournament series in the state of Florida. Just see how you run that thing, man. That's your puppy, and but talk about it a little bit about the King of the Glades. How did you get started doing that? And let's go into that a little bit.
18 years ago, there was a lot of tournaments in the Everglades, and unfortunately, some of the directors, stopped doing tournaments for either health reasons or other reasons. Um, so there really wasn't much going on. There used to be a big trail down here years ago. I'm talking years ago, and the guy ripped off all the anglers and hauled Bud out of state with all the money that was supposed to be for the classics and stuff. And actually, one day I was over at John Pate's house and we were sitting down, and an open tournament, just a 1 day open, to just to do one, and I got a few boats out there, and John Pate, sat me down and said, "Listen, man, these guys need a trail. They need a series. They need something down here that'll bring us all together." So, I agreed with John to do it. It's 100% payback. I don't keep nothing. I got so many sponsors that it's crazy the amount of sponsors I got. I mean, I could spend 20 minutes naming them. Just a bunch. You could go to kotgseries.com and click on the sponsor link and just be amazed at how a local series can generate. And these guys give thousands of dollars worth of stuff away for what I call the free boaters appreciation raffle that I do after each tournament. And with the series is winding down now, but I will say this, I'll never say my series is the best series, and I would never expect my anglers to say that my series is the best series. And the reason being is I fished from club tournaments up to $50,000 opens that you're going for. And when I'm sitting in that boat in the morning, I'm no more jacked up than I am for a club tournament than I am fishing for 50 grand. Okay, so to me, anytime somebody puts on an event, you know, that's the best.
Yeah.
To see other guys out there putting on events and people fishing them, I will say this: the King Series, in my mind, is the toughest series in South Florida because it's the only tournament series outside the FLWs that you actually got to earn your way into the Classic. Out of hundreds and hundreds of entries, we only take 23 boats into
Hmm.
a no entry fee Classic that they can win some good money and some serious trophy hardware. And so to me, it's the toughest. I mean, I got guys who just missed out on qualifying for the Classic. They're heartbroken. Damn, I wish I would have caught an extra fish. I would have got that extra point. You know, um, Now we got the wild card up on Okeechobee in 2 weeks, and what that is every boat that fished 3 of 5 events are fishing head to head in an open, and the top three of them are the wild card boats that'll round us off from 20 boat field to a 23 boat field in
Yeah.
the Classic. So there technically could be 100 boats, but that group is only fishing against each other to get those three wild card spots. And
Right.
so it is very tough. But one thing that I will tell you, and I'll tell the fishing world, this is a hobby of mine. It's a passion of mine. I've met some awesome people. Like I said, not everybody likes Bottom Line Mike, and that's okay. That's fine with me,
Yeah.
But I've met a lot of great people over the years doing this series, and that's really what drives me is I have a lot of good relationships with the anglers and stuff. Number one, they know they can trust me. Number two, I have no hidden agenda. It's 100%, 100% payback. I don't gain nothing, even from my sponsors. My sponsors are like, Mike, I want to send you down a new rod. Mike, I want to do this. Mike, I want to do. No, if you want to give me a discount, that's okay. But I prefer to purchase my stuff from you because I don't like owing anybody anything.
Yeah.
It's a mutual arrangement. I'll promote your stuff as long as you keep giving it out, and as long as it's quality stuff. And trust me, everything that's given out in these raffles are high quality stuff that these anglers really appreciate and love to use. And I mean, we gave out over damn near $1,000, over $1,000 just in Livingston lures. Every single tournament, I was throwing Livingston lures out like, and they're like 12, 15 bucks,
Oh yeah.
18 bucks a piece, and I'm throwing them out like Donkey Kong. Over $2,000 worth of Fitzgerald rods. I mean, I'm just passing stuff out like Santa Claus, and but it's all for a good cause. It's to make
Yeah.
the trail funner. But I'll never say my trail's the best trail, but I will say it's the toughest.
Yeah.
And trust me, the guys that make these classics, they're the best of the best. They made it through the season,
Yeah.
the best of the best. And now the
Yeah.
best of the best are going to go head to head in a
Yeah.
championship to find out who the one is, who that one is. Because in the King Series, there can be only one.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, I have a lot of friends that I wish would be that one, but unfortunately, there can only be one winner,
Yeah.
and we'll find that out the first weekend of June who that'll be. So, like I said, it's at
We're gonna be
kotgseries.com. So I appreciate that, Norman. I appreciate you thinking so highly of the trail, but I will say it's definitely the toughest trail down here.
Yeah. I mean, I just
yeah,
love.
we're gonna
Go ahead, Colin.
we're definitely gonna make sure you put that on Facebook to where we can watch the weigh-in
Yeah.
from up here in Tennessee because
Yeah.
we want to see the best of the best. So,
Yeah.
uh,
Oh, we will.
But definitely
We will.
killing with the King Series. I mean, I just love looking at the results, looking at the post, and
Yeah,
definitely.
Athena rocks that. My granddaughter, believe it or not, she's like up to here to me. She's only 8 years old. She's one of the smartest 8-year-olds I have ever known. She'll talk to you like an adult. She has a great time. She loves going to the King Series weigh-in and doing these things.
Yeah.
When they do the class pictures of her class, she towers over all the other
Yeah.
kids. So sometimes when you're talking to her, you forget that you're talking to an 8-year-old,
right.
Right.
and she does an amazing job. But like I said, she loves the anglers, and she has a relationship with a bunch of anglers. Neil Stark from Fishing with America's Finest, he takes out veterans down here for nothing. And like we go over to his house, and she has a blast with Uncle Neil
Yeah.
and all these guys. And that, like I said, that's why I do this series, and I continue to do it. I could shut this thing down tomorrow, Norman, and be happy with the years that I've had, but I'm having a good time. I've met a lot of good people, and that's really what it's all about. Fishing in Florida right now is off the chain. We had a full moon last a couple, for about a week and a half now. I mean, 20 bags over 30 pounds in the Roland Martins tournament on Okeechobee. I can't tell you how many 25 pounds. I don't even think 27 pounds cashed a check, and they paid 30 spots. Holiday Park in the Everglades, 20 bags over 17 with 4 over 20. I mean, just all across the state is great fishing right now, and there's a lot of good people out there, a lot of good anglers. Just to give a shout out to a couple real quick, if you want to catch some giant bass on Okeechobee, Cody Davis, if you look up Cody Davis on Facebook or Instagram,
Yeah.
Tightline Charters, he's a great guide on Okeechobee. Andrew Ernst up there at the Ida Osborne chain, which I won 9 opens in a row back in 2002, just letting you guys know, including the largest open ever held on Ida Osborne chain, 189 boats. And John Pate was the last guy to weigh in, and he scared the hell out of me, but I got the win. And so, yeah, my Andrew Ernst up there, guys for Peacock Bass and Clown Knifefish, does a great job. Just a lot of great anglers down here that do so much. Like I said, Neil Stark, Fishing with America's Finest. I'm wearing his shirt. Not only because it's pretty,
Yeah.
But because I feel he does a great job with those veterans, just taking them out for nothing.
Yeah.
So we
Speaking
have a
of
good
Neil
feeling.
Starks, he uh, he commented on here, said, "Great job, gentlemen. Good content. Keep it up."
Thanks, Neil. And everybody too, follow Neil on Facebook. What he does with his guide service, I mean, he just does such a great job with the veterans and what he does. Giving back with what he does with that. It's just Neil does just such a great job. So follow Neil on his social media stuff and a great shout out to Neil Stark too on what he does and what he stands for with
Yeah.
how he helps out with things.
And
Yeah.
another question is, it says, "Great info on the big nasty. Very versatile bait. Will it catch a drum? Asking for a friend."
Well, I will say this. I will say this about the big nasty, and this is not a lie. This is God's honest truth. And the guy's going to send me some pictures down. The big nasty in all black. This isn't all black. I don't know what color this is. This is like Mike's Magic, but the all black one he took out in the ocean and was catching cobia on the big nasty all black.
That's
So
awesome.
yes, it
That's
will catch saltwater fish.
yeah.
So let's talk. What kind of fish do you have in your backyard? I've been hearing some
Oh
stories.
man, ooh man, I got some river monsters back there. Lake Lendl, which is what I call it in Pembroke Pines, Florida, is my backyard, and I call it a sanctuary for the fish. I fish back there, but I try not to fish too much because I don't want to bang them up. We got some giant bass in there, giant peacock bass, but we also have a fish called a pacu. And my my son-in-law caught one not too long ago. I'll tag you in the post. Had to be 50 pounds. Anglers have come from all around over here to try to catch these things, and they are very elusive. But I will tell you this, I literally have seen reels smoke. I mean, smoke coming off the reels when these things shoot across the lake at 60 miles an hour and you can't turn them.
Wow.
Now,
That
if you don't know what a pacu looks like, it's a big old fish. Looks like somebody just shoved dentures in their mouth.
yeah.
It, it
That
looks
sounds
it
like
looks like a giant piranha. I mean, they're just giant.
a
Look like
piranha on
giant piranha.
steroids. That sounds
Yeah,
like I got a new bucket list thing going on right there. Go down and try to
yeah.
catch me a
Hey,
pacu.
Norman, we might have to extend this ICAST week that we're going down there.
Yeah, right. Go show up at Mike's back door. Hey man, let's go
I'll
catch
bring the
a
strawberries.
Well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you what. If we had a John boat with Norman's electronics on it, we could go out there and probably catch 100-pound bag out there. Man, there's some giant fish in this lake. And I'll tell you,
Yeah,
those pacus are no joke, man. They're line burners. Man, I mean, it's fun to watch all these guys come over and try to catch them. And then literally, I could go back there now and get them riled up. But in 15 years of living here, there's been two caught.
oh wow.
That's how elusive these fish are.
Well, every time you do those short
Not that they're
videos,
not eating your bait. I'm talking about just getting them to
yeah,
land.
get landing
right, right.
them. Yeah, and every time you do your short videos back there showing those boils and those rolls and those I'm like, man, Mike has monsters living in his backyard because literally it looks like monsters kind of coming up and splashing back there. I mean, the biggest splashing you ever want to see when you get them things rolled up. You've done some videos on it. I'm like, damn, man, getting me ready to go down and have my bit at attempting to catch one of them things. I'm like, man, but yeah, I can see what you're saying as far as how elusive they can be, and even when you do get them hooked, now you got to try to turn them and get them in. They're so big and so powerful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're all muscle, and
Yeah.
like I said, they swim very quickly and very strongly, and man, just to try to turn one is a job in itself, and then you got to worry about getting it up on the ledge. I mean, I've seen guys run out 12 feet out offshore to try to get them up over the ledge, and these things just whoop up on them. I mean, it's amazing. But no, no, just a huge shout out to all the anglers down here. Um, we're all getting older. 55. The sun's beating down harder. But we're out there doing what we love to do, and we just gotta appreciate what God's given us because we're not here forever. And the reason I say that is I lost a coworker day before yesterday, 32 years old.
Oh wow.
And he just had he's got an 8 month old baby and a 1 year old baby, and he was a good
That's
guy.
so
They
bad.
don't know what happened to him. He just was getting ready for work and never came out of the bedroom, and his wife went in there and he was gone. And it's a very sad story, but that once again just reaffirms that God's given us the nature and to go out and to be able to hang and catch some nice fish together. And I don't take it as serious. I'm not the fishing animal I used to be when I was younger. I still like to give it my best and win a couple here and there, but it's just mostly to just enjoying time spending with each other and people like you who are just really solid, great people and really
We
love the
appreciate
sport.
that.
Love the sport that we're doing.
And
Uh,
great camaraderie, and that's what club fishing is all about. Club fishing and small trail fishing is, getting out and hanging out with other people that love and enjoy doing what you love to do, and the camaraderie and the friendships you gain by doing that. I mean, that's what it's all about.
what I enjoy the most is when I'm throwing a spook up the shoreline with my boy Papa Rojas. We're smashing them, and three boats jump in front of us and throwing a spook. And 6 hours later, they come in with 9 pounds, and we have 28. That's what I love because you still just because you got a spook, though, you still got to throw it the right way, baby.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And it's the same with any bait. You can tell someone how to catch them, what to do, how you're throwing it, but until they get out and do it, it's a different story. And I see what you're saying too. It's not getting out and throwing the bait. It's presenting it the way the fish want it presented to them and presenting it in the right way.
Yeah, actually, Papa Rojas, my partner, he weighed in over 20 pounds. He was one of the 20-pound bags out here at the Last King. Very proud of him. It tells me that he's learning. That all the stuff I'm teaching him, he's learning, and that is, he's a young kid compared to me. I'm an old man, but man, the drive this kid has to fish and how what a quality angler he is, and what a rock he is. Mike, calm down. I'll miss a 6 7 pounder. Mike, calm down. We'll get another one. I mean, he's really a great angler for and he's learned a lot, and he's taught me a lot. He's taught me a lot up on Okeechobee, and together we're just hard to beat, man. I mean, we've won everywhere that we've gone. I think we're the first team in the Glades Masters to win at least one tournament at every location that there is to offer.
That's awesome.
And
That's
it's
cool.
just because he's really a strong fisherman and really keeps my head in the game when things aren't going that well, and we end up winning anyway. But no, Florida's got a lot of great anglers. One thing I want to do in the next couple years is win an open up on Okeechobee. And if I have to pay Chris Sherling big dollars to get it done, that's what I'm going to do. I will buy me a hammer. I'll
Yeah.
buy me a damn hammer. And Chris Sherling is one of the best hammers on. It's funny because they sit there and they weigh in these huge bags. Guys like Chris Sherling, Cale Stevens, Brady McQueen, Mikey Queso, Donnie Bass. Oh, what'd you catch him on, guys? Oh, I caught him on a spook. Dan, no, nobody called me up. I mean, when the spook bite's on, at least call bottom up. Offer me a
Yeah.
ride. I'll ride with you and sling it with you.
Yeah.
If
Right.
you're catching 8, 9, 10 pound bass on it, Dan, call me up. I'll have some
Yeah.
fun with you.
Yeah. No kidding. It's like hook your brother up. Come on.
Yep.
Uh,
Yep.
yeah.
So
But no.
we're sitting at an hour and 20 minutes right now.
Boy,
So
time just flies when you're talking fishing and having fun,
it
right?
does, it does, and especially when you got somebody on here that you can chit chat with, and learn stuff from. And that's one thing that I enjoy about doing this podcast is we've been able to have a wide variety of people on. Um, and a lot of people from the different parts of the country. So you learn in different kind of techniques of how they do things, or even just hearing them talk, you can kind of see their thought process through like going out on a trip and stuff like that. And then every now and then we can sneak something in to where we can get a secret out of the person too. So
The only secret down here in Florida, especially down here in South Florida and up by what I call Norman Lee country up there in Sebring, is I have a saying. I have a saying, and I'll stick to it. You know, one of my buddies said it: "Big baits, big bites," and
Big
that's what
beast
we
stuff.
look for down here. And that's exactly what we throw down here, and and we catch a lot of big fish doing it. So, if you, a lot of my angler friends down here that don't never threw big baits like that before, if you're scared to do it in a tournament or something, when you're out there fun fishing, you know, put on a 16-inch snake, throw it on a flipping stick with 50-pound braid or 25-pound fluoro, you know, or you know, a frog rod or something, and give it a try, man. Because when you cast this thing, I'll tell you, I'll let you know. There's different ways to work this snake. Okay, there's a lot of different ways. Number one, you can walk, if their fish are real aggressive, you can walk it across the top real quick. What I like to do is I cast it down the shoreline. I'll count to 30 after it hits the water. Let that thing go deep. And what I'll do is I'll work it like a giant trick worm. I'll twitch, 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 stop. Twitch, twitch. And by the time, and normally when you're twitching it, it's working its way back towards the top. And next you know, you see the toilet flush. And you just wait a couple seconds and your line's going out to the middle. You set up, boom, it's a 5 to 8 pounder. I mean, you can't beat that. You know,
no,
the fun to catch a snake. You can put a half-ounce weight on this and send it down a ledge and work it up a ledge and catch by. I mean, there's so many different ways to work these big baits, man, that, you know, you just have fun. There's nothing like feeling that tick on the end of your line, man. There's
No,
not, you know.
no. And if you've never been fishing and actually had a bite and felt that tick, you don't know what Mike's talking about. But as a fisherman, that's what we live for, is just casting that lure and just waiting to feel that tick tick on the other end. And man,
And then you feel
also
that line move, and you can tell she's big because you can feel the wobble in your
see,
line when
see
she's
the
swimming
line
up.
moving,
feel
and
that tail kick.
Yeah,
yeah,
you can
Yeah,
feel that
that's
there's
wobble.
what a lot of people don't. If they're new to fishing and stuff, they think that that big heavy hit is a big fish, and then when they get it in, it's a pound, pound and a half, and they're like, "Let's sucker hit it like a freight train," and then we're like, the big fish, you won't even feel it. All you just feel is a little thump, and
yeah,
that's it.
yeah.
So,
Some
but
of the biggest fish has the smallest bite. You'll feel them small fish feel like they hit it 100 miles an hour on the fly because they're so aggressive. Them big fish, you just pull it in front of them slowly, and all they'll do is they're just sitting there on the bottom, and they just and they don't even move a muscle. All you do is feel weight, so you never even feel the bite with the big fish half the time.
Yeah, one
yeah,
time I threw a big nasty up at a spillway. The current was coming out, and I'm sitting there like this, trying to feel it coming along the bottom, just letting the current carry it out. And my line went slack, and I'm reeling in the slack, and all of a sudden this 8 pounder way over there jumps, and I look, and it's got my nasty hanging out its mouth. I'm like, oh my god, he's got my worm, and I set up, and I didn't even, you never even felt the bite. Sometimes
Yeah,
they're just so big, they just inhale
yeah,
the whole thing. You don't even know they're there, but when you feel that, you know, that pressure.
yeah.
But that one there, you know, I got her in. I got her in. She was big fish of the year in
Oh,
the
yeah.
club.
That's fun, man. That's fun stuff.
well, let's start wrapping this up because I got
Yes, sir.
dinner coming up, right? And
Dinner.
but
You always have dinner coming up.
I'm a fat guy. I know how to eat. So,
Oh,
Hey,
I'm
but
ready to eat too. I'm hungry.
right.
We're gonna be like bass on big nasties. We're gonna
yeah,
be eating that
right.
food up.
Yeah. So, last question: if you could have anybody in your boat to fish one day that is living or that have passed, who would that be? and why would you have them on your boat?
Um, the person that I wish I could fish with the most, man, that's a tough one because there's a lot of great anglers. I mean, there's a lot of local great anglers I'd love to
Yeah,
fish with that I haven't, the Mikey Quesos, the Donnie Basses. But if I had to select somebody that if Norman called me up and said, Mike, this person's going to be at your house tomorrow, take him fishing. I mean, honestly, I would have to say Mike Iaconelli. And I know you're going to laugh at that, but
yeah,
I'm going to say he to me he brought excitement. A lot of people don't like him, but he brought excitement to the fishing scene. He sometimes gets a little crazy, but man, to sit there and watch two guys fishing like this for 12 hours, man, I'm ready to fall asleep. This guy
yeah.
brought entertainment to fishing and just let passion out. How many? I can't tell you how many times I'm on a lake now and somebody jacks an 8 pounder and I hear him screaming from 20 miles away, and his partner's telling him to shut up because everybody's going to come over here.
Yeah.
You know, he to me, I would like to fish with one day fish with Mike Iaconelli. Amazing
Yeah.
fisherman. He fishes great everywhere. I mean, one of my favorites. I have a lot of favorites, but he would be the guy I'd fish with because I know one thing. I know we'd be talking all damn day long,
Yeah. Yeah.
and
Oh,
like,
hey.
and we
Uh,
both
And
like to
that is,
talk.
yeah,
that's a good.
but that's like his excitement. I guarantee you the when he won that classic and caught that last fish that he knew that when he knew that he won it, that and he you just seen him on his knees and he's holding the fish up like this and just yelling. I guarantee you the whole lake knew that he caught that fish that was going to
And
win it.
and also
But
them words that he said when he won that classic, never give up. A good learning lesson for a lot of younger anglers out there too. No matter how your day is, if you're just starting out fishing tournaments, club tournaments, whatever level you're fishing at, use those words, never give up, and put it in your repertoire because no matter how bad the day is, you can never tell how it's going to end. And that's the one cool thing about fishing is you could go out and have a bad morning, okay, and not even have a fish in the live well, and in 10 minutes you could have 25 pounds in the live well after being down in the dumps because you don't have nothing an hour before weigh-in. And you know, me and my team partner in team tournaments, I think 3 or 4 times, we've actually literally cashed checks and won events literally on the last flip or two of the day. You know, so never give up, man. And when I done that, he just, you know, that was exciting to me just to watch it because first I love excitement on the water. I don't like watching somebody just this all day. I love seeing that excitement. And when Ike and Ellie came into the sport and brought that excitement on the boat, it was just I loved watching it. You know, me personally, and it was just great. And he made that saying iconic as "never give up," and it's still said today. You know,
yeah,
based on that classic one he had.
well, that's like
Yeah, I mean sometimes like I get a little crazy. Like Papa Rojas will jack a 8 9 pounder, and I'm there with the net, and I start screaming like somebody's like a school child getting hit by the ruler, and he's like, Mike, calm down, quiet, Mike, quiet. Everybody's gonna know we're catching him over here. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. I'm sitting there. Now we're in ninja mode, trying to hide from everybody. But
Yeah,
yeah, bottom. What I'm saying is, bottom has no problem netting other people's fish too, and I've netted plenty of my
yeah,
partners, Fish Hank, Craig, Papa Ross, all these guys, like great anglers I fished with. One thing I like to do, I like to give Bernie Alvarez a shout out with a Twitch Boom. I am the original guy on Facebook that said Twitch Boom, and Ernie copied my name. So we're going to challenge each other here in the summertime to go out and go spook to spook. So I appreciate you guys, man. I watch you guys all the time. You got a great podcast. I hope all my friends enjoyed it. All the anglers out there enjoyed it. It's a great sport. We need to keep our water clean. We need
yeah,
to get FWC and all these people to quit spraying the lakes. The water levels need to be maintained at a proper level, so the grass can grow and to keep this, these great, beautiful places that God gave us, here for our kids because nobody's
yeah,
here forever. But we got to pass something on to them that they have a shot. I'm tired of looking at old pictures of John Payton, all these guys holding up 10, 11 pounders here and there, and there's no 10, 11 pounders there no more. Let's
yeah,
let's
right,
all work together to fix that.
yeah.
yeah,
Exactly, man. Well said.
exactly.
Very well said.
So, guys, that is the podcast with Bottom Line Mike. Again, you heard it from his mouth. Not everybody likes him, but he likes Mike and Ellie, and he wants to scream on the boat with Ike and Ellie. So there's nothing better than that. So,
Make sure
but
to go to Mike's Facebook page also. Follow Mike on Facebook, and he has some good stuff on Facebook, and I mean stuff that I actually sit there and I laugh so hard sometimes at some of the stuff. Yeah, Mike, if your fishing career never ends up not working out, you could always have a career in photoshopping, because some of
oh,
that stuff
wait,
you do on there, man, is just crazy. Going back and forth, jabbing at all the buddies and everything. It's just like. Sometimes I cry myself to sleep with tears in my eyes because I'm laughing so hard looking at some of that
We,
stuff, but it's just
we
crazy.
all
But
love to have a good time, man. Life can't be serious all the time,
yeah,
and we just like to have fun with it. And you know, if I ever offend anybody out there with one of my posts, I do apologize. But
it's
this
good
is
stuff. It's
this,
and it's funny.
yeah,
yeah, it's bottom line,
yeah,
Mike.
it's
I'm down here in the King of the Glades War Room, Pembroke Pines, Florida. I'm on here with my boys, with Colin and Norman Lee. I look forward for them coming to the swamp down here in July, and I look forward to going out and smashing some fish with them. Hopefully the fish cooperate and we have a great trip. And I like to say peace out to everybody. Bottom's hungry. He talks a lot when he's hungry, so we can keep going on and on. But listen, grab a rod, grab a bait, grab a big nasty, grab a fluke, grab whatever you want. Get out there, catch some fish, enjoy nature. That's what it's all about.
Yeah,
Peace out, everybody. My
exactly. You
boys
heard it
at
right
work,
there.
my
You heard
boys
it
at work,
right
Alvin and
from
Sam
Mike.
and all them. Get back to work. I know you're still at work.
Bottom.
I left work
Thank you,
early.
man. It was a fun episode. We enjoyed it, and we can't wait to go down and catch some fish with you down there in July, man.
All
Yeah,
right,
I
we'll
ain't
talk.
even gonna say nothing because Mike just put the best ending that we've ever had. I'm hungry. Get out of here is what he said. So
Exactly, Mike. Go fill your belly. I'm about to go fill my belly yet because I haven't even had lunch today, and I know Colin's gonna fill that big old belly of his.
yeah.
So,
All
Bottom,
So
right,
thanks a lot,
guys.
buddy.
Peace out. Have fun. It was a great to spend some time with you.
All right, man.
yeah, thank you so much, Mike.
Thanks, Mike.